Welcome to my YouTube channel Kids Fun Magic World. Friends, today our topic is essay on how did segregation lay foundation for apartheid. Segregation in South Africa was a crucial precursor to the system of apartheid, deeply influencing its development and implementation. To understand how segregation laid the foundation for apartheid, it's essential to explore the historical context and the gradual evaluation of racial policies that set the stage for the more formalized and systematic racial segregation under apartheid. Historical context and early segregation. Before apartheid became an official policy in 1948, racial segregation in South Africa was already entrenched. The roots of this segregation can be traced back to colonial times where European settlers, particularly the Dutch and later the British, imposed racial hierarchies to consolidate their power and control over the indigenous African population. The foundation of segregation was laid through various laws and practices designed to maintain white supremacy and control over the majority black population. Early legislative measures. In the early 20th century, several laws were enacted that institutionalized racial segregation. The Native Land Act of 1913 was one of the first significant legislative measures that restricted the land ownership of black South Africans to only 7% of the country. This act was a critical step in creating a segregated society by confining black pupils to specific area while become a hallmark of apartheid. The subsequent years saw the introduction of more laws that reinforced segregation in various aspects of life, including the Urban Areas Act of 1923, which established separate residential area for different racial groups in urban centers. Growth of segregation policies. By the 1940s, segregation was deeply embedded in South African society and governance. The National Party, which won the 1948 elections, adopted apartheid as a formal policy building on the existing framework of segregation. Apartheid, meaning apartness in Africans, was designed to extend and formalize racial separation into every aspect of life. The policy aimed to create a rigidly hierarchical society with whites at the top and blacks, colored, and Indians relegated to subordinate statuses. Key apartheid legislation. The National Party government introduced a series of laws to entrench apartheid. The Population Registration Act of 1950 classified all South Africans by race, further institutionalizing segregation. The Group Areas Act of 1950 restricted the residential and business area that each racial group could occupy, leading to forced removals of non-whites from areas designed for whites. The Bantu Education Act of 1953 ensured that black education was inferior and focused on preparing black people for subsequent roles in society. Social and economic impact. Segregation laid the groundwork for apartheid by creating a society deeply divided along racial lines both socially and economically. The early segregation laws and policies created a precedent for the rigid racial classifications and institutionalized inequalities that apartheid would later enforce more comprehensively. This division facilitated the systematic exploitation of black labor and the maintenance of white economic dominance, which were central features of apartheid. Resistance and legacy. The legacy of segregation also contribute to the intense resistance against apartheid. The injustices and inequalities established by earlier segregation policies fueled the anti-apartheid movement and galvanized various resistance groups both within South Africa and internationally. The struggle against apartheid was in many ways a struggle against the entrenched system of racial separation that had been in place for decades. In summary, segregation in South Africa provided the structural and ideological foundation for apartheid. The incremental implementation of racial segregation through legislation and social policies created a deeply divided society which apartheid formalized into a comprehensive system of racial separation and oppression. Thank you friends for watching my video. Friends, I hope you like my video. Friends, if you like my video, so please subscribe, share and comment. Bye friends.